Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrutya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jayam Udhirayet Nashta Prayeshva Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Continuing the Srimad Bhagavatam and Kunti's Prayers, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 26, 1-8-26. Janmaishvarya Shruta Shri Pir Etaman Amadav Puman Naivarhati Vidhatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocham. Translation and purport. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Translation. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. Purport. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth, and education, and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly, O Govinda, O Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency. But there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless person can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a person who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but they are incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely 1, high parentage, 2, good wealth, 3, high education, and 4, attractive beauty are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress in the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature, as much as fever is an external feature of the unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the degree of the fever and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it is seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Om Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Desha Dharane Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One great devotee who was on book distribution, Prabhupada's books, with another great devotee. Once upon a time. And somebody approached one of the pair and was being introduced to the Bhagavad Gita. And then they were being introduced to the Mahamantra, which is an excellent practice when you're distributing books. Just distribute the holy name too. And if you're distributing the holy name, distribute books too. They go well together. They're like rice and dal. So one of them said, one of the persons who's being introduced to the Mahamantra leaned in and said, "What does it mean?" And so one of the persons was answering them, the other one was not, but heard the question, and they were thinking, "I want to know what it means too." So they got closer to hear what their friend would say. And their friend said, "It means I need help. It means I need help." Which is a really nice, succinct kind of presentation, because it actually means kind of everything. Radha and Krishna, the supreme world, the spiritual service, divine Goloka Vrindavan. But it for us, especially as conditioned souls, it really also means I need help. That's a really practical doorway. Because if you don't need help, then what are you doing? Chanting Hare Krishna. What kind of position are you in if you are convinced you don't need help? Like, I'm good. The 3 words that block all progress. I know that. I don't need knowledge. I don't need strength. Knowledge means knowing what to do. Strength means the ability to do it. I'm good. I don't need help. That means that you don't have any openness to what Krishna is trying to offer. And so this principle of embracing I need help has been really central in the last few verses. Kunti has been living in a situation of practically dire calamity after calamity. And she was doing that for the sake of all of us, so that we could actually see what it's like to take shelter in the middle of calamity, because that's going to happen sometimes. And the principle is analyzed more closely here, that it's actually a function of one's intoxication to the material opulences that holds one back from receiving what Krishna wants to offer. Because after all, since it's a relationship, it takes 2. Now Krishna's doing his part. He's offering everything, actually everything. He's not holding anything back. He's ready to offer everything. But our ability to actually experience that is gated by our own participation in the relationship. And the thing about that is, we already have other relationships. Think about it. Krishna showed up right now and said, "Okay, I'm ready for you. Let's go. I'll take you home." You might be tempted to think, "Well, hold on, I've got some things to take care of. Let's like put it on the back burner. Let's workshop that, little buddy. I've got this thing going on. I've really, I'm looking forward to this. I've got that. I got to take care of these people. I've got to manage that, and that indicates relationships. We have relationships as conditioned souls with all kinds of aspects of Krishna's energy. Actually, we only have relationship with Krishna because they're all just aspects of his energy after all. But in the playpen that is the material world, in the sandbox, you get to decide if you're the king of the castle, who's a dirty rascal. You get to play those games. You get to actually count the grains of sand and fight over them. You get to actually have some sense of material currency. And so, because we want that, it's not an accident that we're here. And so we develop a relationship as if it's separate from Krishna, as if it's some thing that we can just have and control. And so we already have relationships. In other words, there's competition for what we are trying to give Krishna, what he's asking for our heart. This competition, we've already kind of signed it over to, well, you know what it is for everybody. We all have our little things. And those are relationships. And we're giving ourselves to those relationships. And Prabhupada enumerates 4 aspects of Krishna's energy that are classic, because Kunti does for us. So this is very analytical, it's very scientific. Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shri. Everyone say Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shri. Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta,
Shri.
Janma. Anyone ever heard the word Janma? Janmashtami?
Yeah.
Yeah. Janma is the root of the Latin and then English word generation. Generate. Janma means birth. So Krishna's Janma. Janma karma chame divyam, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. My activities and my birth, my appearance are actually divya, they're magical. And you can, if you understand them, you can come back to me. So we also have an appearance, but it's not so magical. But we have some material appearance, and we have some material parentage, and that's an aspect of our opulences. So people can become intoxicated that, oh, I come in a great family. I'm from this line. I'm from this Gotra, your traditional Vedic background. I come from this last name. I'm a Rockefeller, old money, royalty, aristocracy. Once upon a time, my great grandfather performed something. And so there's a sense of like a relationship there. We create a relationship based on, I'm attached to this. Janma, Aishvarya. Aishvarya is a name for the goddess of fortune. Aishvarya actually means opulence. So opulence is another thing besides your parentage or your birth or your background that somebody can get intoxicated with in this world. And it's not that opulence is a problem. It's that we're creating relationships everywhere we go. And if we don't have a relationship, a fundamental relationship with the Supreme, then when we have a little bit of money, then as Pink Floyd sang, money, it's a crime. Share it fairly, but don't take a slice of my pie. We're all very attached to what we have, based on the principle that we're actually little relational beings. And so Janma Aishvarya, there's another principle of actually like distraction from the Supreme. Shruta, learning. You can actually become very learned, even spiritual knowledge. And if that's your thing, and you're attached to like, I'm very intelligent, your whole conception of yourself is up in your intellect, then that's another distraction because that's a relationship you have. It's like there's this beautiful energy of analysis. And I am that. I have so much. Don't you see how powerful I am? Sometimes people who have nothing else, they invest just everything in this knowledge. And their relationship to the universe is based on like, I'm in the knower. And Shri, beauty. Beauty in different respects. Being poetic, being graceful, being physically attractive, sounding good, looking good, smelling good, whatever it may be. And none of these things are problems in and of themselves, but the relationships we create with them can be very much problems. The expression they say sometimes people say money is the root of all evil. That's not actually the expression. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. Money's not a problem. It's if you develop this toxic relationship with any of Krishna's energies, that's the root of evil. And the fundamental evil that this verse is talking about is that you're not able to call out anymore. You feel completely satisfied and complacent, counting the grains of sand in your little sandbox, and therefore you cannot actually understand the context that you're in. And that's a problem. And Kunti's saying that because she's a great devotee. She's not in the middle of that jungle. She's not in the middle of that problem, that mess that we're all in. She's seeing it. Here we are in the world, and here are so many people getting intoxicated, counting their little grains of sand, their birth, their opulence, their learning, intelligence, and their beauty. And therefore, they cannot call out in the same way. And this speaks to the qualitative nature of bhakti yoga. It's not actually ritualistic. Bhakti is not ritualistic. It's not about rituals. It's about what are you putting into what you're doing, right? Because if it's about the ritual, there's always going to be somebody who's greater than you. I mean, and there's always going to be the case that they're going to be greater than you. How? Because they can pronounce the Sanskrit better, because they're more punctual, because they're more clean, because they've performed the things in the correct order. That's what ritual means, right? All the externals. And ritual serves a function. It can be very purifying for the mind. So actually, we all have our little rituals. It just keeps us in order and lets things flow nicely. But that's not the point. The point is, for everything, including ritual, to serve our inner function or inner purpose. And the inner purpose of chanting Hare Krishna is to call out with love, call out with real desire for Krishna. That's the inner purpose of the chanting. And if you can't do that because you already feel like all of your ability to relate to others is completely, your ability to relate is actually completely enmeshed or absorbed in any of these things or anything else in the world, then that ritual may be performed. But what does it really mean, right? Prabhupada says in the purport, actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency to get rid of a quantity of sins that one is actually unable to commit themselves. But there's a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless person can feelingly utter the holy name, whereas a person who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. Sincerity, right? Like not covering up the essential thing. The essential thing is that we need Krishna, and he's the only person who can satisfy us. And it's also a voluntary relationship. He's never going to force himself on us. It's not that when we start chanting Hare Krishna, just like Krishna's like, aha, I got you now, right? And spiritually handcuffs us and has his way with us. It's a relationship. It's consensual, right? Like any loving relationship, it's consensual. So how much do you want of me? That much I'm willing to give and more, but I'm waiting to see what you want to ask for. Ask and you shall receive, right? And so this is a callback to that kind of idea, ask and you shall receive. It's also a callback to the idea in the Bible. You can see that the last sentence, grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. What did the Bible say? That easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God, because it's very difficult to be intoxicated, to actually be in proximity with great material opulence and not become intoxicated by it. Only somebody who's very advanced can actually do that effectively without becoming at least partly waylaid. So we're not actually advised to give up material opulences. First of all, because it's not necessarily even possible to do. There's always going to be some beauty. There's always going to be some wealth. Even a pauper is proud of their penny. Ever seen a homeless person fight over their cart full of junk? Because it's their wealth, right? Ever seen children argue over the knowledge they have, even though it's completely incorrect? It's all relative. You can't give it up anyway. It's not even yours. How can you give up that which is not yours? Prabhupada joke, he said, if you walk into a bank and you declare very proudly, I renounce all the wealth in this bank, everyone will look at you like, what's that person's problem? Crazy. It's not about renouncing it. It's about putting it in its right place and functioning accordingly. Whatever your position is, whether it's wealthy, unwealthy, beautiful, unattractive, whatever it may be, so be it. And see it as an extension of your relationship with Krishna, because it surely is. It doesn't belong to anyone else but him. Although you may be the steward of it, and you may have to function with it with responsibility. But you can perform that responsibility exactingly, but dispassionately. So this is a very practical verse, very analytical, talking about the ways in which we can become intoxicated. The word intoxicated is actually here in the Sanskrit. Madaha. Yeah, intoxication. Ada mada madaf puman. Mada means mad. You can become a little crazy after any of these things or anything else. These are just kind of like the greatest hits. They're really classic. It's like, oh, they're so beautiful. I'm so intoxicated with them. Or I'm so beautiful. Or wealth. I mean, come on. What's happening? People like get a little money, they go crazy, they go nuts. Ever seen families? I heard of families that are torn apart because somebody just holds on to the money their parents left them and doesn't distribute it according to what was actually desired. It's like, that's the stuff of legend. You know? The Trojan War started because somebody wanted someone else's wife. It's like, oh, they're beautiful. They're meant for me. I'm the enjoyer of that. It's just these are just the greatest hits, but people can become intoxicated by anything. And so that's another reason why it's not possible to actually renounce all these things. Because what are you gonna renounce the pebbles too? You know, they're all there. Some pebbles are nicer than other pebbles. You have to actually like have a fundamental overriding relationship. That's the only way. You have to have an overriding relationship, because all the other relationships are going to be there. They're going to be there. Only an impersonalist tries to cut off relationships, thinking they're a problem. Whether you're like a explicit impersonalist, where you're like, yeah, I follow Shankaracharya, I think we're all one, I don't want to have a god, I just want to be like merging. Or you're an implicit impersonalist, where you're functioning in the world, but actually You're afraid. You're afraid. The Shastra says have a guru. You're like, I don't want to have a guru. I'll just read the books. It's enough. I don't want to have a living person. I'm too afraid of having someone call me out. I'm too afraid of being let down. I don't want to have a God. I don't want to have a living relationship. I'm afraid of that. I don't want to open my heart. I don't want to show who I am, whether it's in your intimate relationships with your family. I don't want to take a chance and go for work that actually like expresses who I really am instead of just a soul killing job that I know is not really what I want. I'm afraid. So fear is actually like an obstacle to relationship, and relationship is what we're all about. So in reality, we have to have an overarching relationship. Otherwise, the other relationships will take over by necessity. And if we're afraid of even material relationships, we'll just have a relationship with fear, which is also one of Krishna's energies. You have to relate to something all the time. We're always in relationship. So the only safe place and happy place, really, like not just happy, but exquisitely joyful place is to be always in your relationship with Krishna. And then you have some good parentage or you don't. You have some opulence or you don't. You have some learning or beauty or you don't. You're in touch with it externally or you're not, and it's okay, right? Otherwise, it's a big problem. How many people have fallen down from spiritual life because they get some money, or some very attractive follower comes and like some previously undiscovered part of their psyche is like, wait a minute, I can have that. What if I had a little bit of that? What if I actually could enjoy that? Because Maya's going to present that all the time for you. It's like, would you like some of this? No? How about this? You've always wanted this. I know you've wanted this. Now you can have it. And that's the thing about bhakti, is that as you practice bhakti, your heart gets purified. You actually will develop certain opulences because you're getting blessed, you know. Devotees become more beautiful by practicing bhakti. They become more learned by practicing bhakti. You can become wealthy if you practice bhakti, if you really want that to be a part of your goal. And part of that is Krishna is just like helping his devotees to be comfortable so they can practice bhakti. And part of it is that Maya is testing. Is like, do you want to keep practicing bhakti? Do you want that to be your fundamental relationship? Because you can also just press pause. This can wait. This whole bhakti thing is cute and all, but like they can wait till next life. What if it just gave you some of this? This thing you've wanted for the last 12 and a half lifetimes. What about some of that? That sense of being in control. What? You sure? Are you sure? Come on, you know you want it. And she's going to do that because that's a test of our sincerity. And if you are like, well, actually, I just see that as part of Krishna anyway. So I don't really, you can take it or leave it. I'm good with it either way. Then you're safe. And you can only do that if you're actually like investing in your relationship with Krishna on the regular. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible to resist that. It's just not, you know? Anybody ever watched Lord of the Rings, read the books? Nobody could resist the ring. Tolkien never explained why, but it was an analogy for like insurmountable personal desire, right? Could be an analogy for the atomic bomb, could be an analogy for human will misused. But the point is, nobody could ever overcome that desire. That's why it has to be thrown into the gap where it came from. You just got to give it back. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. Don't try to be God. Set aside that project. It's not going to work. So we're never going to be able to on our own say no to Maya. It's just not going to work. We're little relational beings, and she's offering these beautiful relationships. The only thing we could do is be like, nah, I'm good. I got a relationship with your master. I'm good. He's the most beautiful. He's the most opulent. He's the most wonderful person. He's the most wealthy. I'm good. I'm good. And then you'll be good. You have to have that higher taste. So that's what this verse is talking about. All the different ways people look for a lower taste based in some relationship with Krishna's energy. And so hopefully we did a reasonable job of painting the picture that you can't actually like be free from relationship, and you shouldn't try to. You should try to cultivate a relationship with Krishna really deeply so that you can call out. And by that calling out, you can actually be free from the desire to have some kind of separate fantasy relationship in the sandbox of the material world. And we'll take any comments, questions, reflections now. Anything I said that stood out? It was a kind of a classic topic. I really like this verse.
I love this verse. If I could reflect, So appropriate, so meaningful. And I love, I think it was in the purport, it said, you can approach, people that approach are those that are materially exhausted. Like
Yeah.
that one really made me gasp when you first started. It's like, wow, that's huge. And, just the whole idea of the distractions that Maya puts out for us, the distractions of material world is, a hindrance to our, devotion or quality of devotion. And that makes complete sense. Just, looking back, at my own life, um, I've never been about the money. I've never been like interested in that as a rule. I mean, it's nice to have, of course, but like, I remember walking away from my ex-husband saying I'd rather be poor and happy than rich and miserable.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because I think for some reason that reading this, listening to you and reading this with you, it was like kind of an aha moment. Because I feel like that detachment from the money and from the greed of that is kind of what opened up my life to follow other paths, follow my heart.
Yeah. Actually, the reality is that we have several different kinds of desires all at the same time. And material life is basically a constant experience of being asked by material nature, what do you want? Right? And it's actually a really powerful thought experiment. What do you want? Because the answer isn't so straightforward. Like on some level, I want to take another breath so I can fill my lungs and live again for another 3 or 4 seconds. I want that. Then I want to fill my stomach. And I want there's all kinds of levels of desires. Abraham Maslow has this pyramid of hierarchy of needs, right? The highest one is self-realization, but it can be difficult to think about that if you're starving. So there are different levels, and our bhakti practice is fundamentally helping us to get in touch with the deepest level. The level at which none of the other stuff actually matters because we really just want Krishna. And that's a fact. That's actually real. Even if we don't always realize it or have ever realized it consciously in this life, in any life, it is actually a fact. And we can actually experience that without having to take it on faith. It can be experienced in this life, practically, to come to a place where you truly realize, nothing is ever going to satisfy me but you, Krishna. Nothing and nobody. And I want you, and I want other people to have you too. I want that. And that, when you get in touch with that desire, it's raw and powerful and far, far deeper than other desires. And that's altogether necessary to have that experience, to have that realization. And it's possible to have. It's entirely possible to have. And it's modeled by these other experiences we have in life of giving up lower desires for higher desires. Like you're talking about, sometimes you have to make space. It's just like there's just too much going on. And if you set aside, I'm just done with this for now. I'm setting it aside. I'm putting it over there. I'm leaving it to make space for Krishna. Then he'll start to kind of be more tangible for us. We find devotees often have that experience. Like they may have come to a point of realizing that I'm not really satisfied. This isn't working on some level. And they at least temporarily renounce something. Could be money, could be position, could be a job, could be a relationship, could be beauty, could be title, prestige, could be possession, could just some function of their previous intoxication with the world. Like, this isn't it. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's not that. And that's not the solution, but it's a precursor to Krishna kind of filling the cup because they've emptied a little bit of their other stuff. It's like, okay, now you can taste some nectar because your cup's not full, right? You got to empty your cup so I can fill it with this delicious nectar. Krishna's trying to fill it with him. And so that's the purpose of, or the context of renunciation, is we can actually let go of lower things for higher things. But ultimately, our bhakti process is really all about coming in touch with our deepest desires, what we really want. And sometimes that means letting go of lower things so we can actually have space for the deeper thing. And sometimes it just means seeing and being supported and going towards and choosing that highest thing, even if we are, in the world with a certain amount of opulence. Everyone has their own situation with that. Some people need to be in simplicity, like lifelong renunciates who are happy and successful with that don't do well with opulence. They're just attached to being simple. And their practice will help them get over that attachment. But in the meantime, they're in a simple situation, so they can just be natural. Most people need a little bit of opulence, they need a little bit of comfort. And so you should have a little bit of that. And so they'll practice bhakti more in the world in a so-called attached mode. But Krishna will help them with their attachment, so they become more attached to him. But one way or another, our bhakti practice is really there to help us come in touch with that deepest desire. Which is really what Kunti is talking about. Yeah, I like that too. Materially exhausted, right? Wow.
Yeah.
What a statement. Akinshana. Everyone say akinshana.
Kinshana.
That's what materially exhausted means in the Sanskrit in this verse. Akinshana. Literally, akinshana means nothing. Kinshana means something. Akinshana means nothing. It doesn't mean you have nothing. It means you feel like you have nothing. It means you don't actually feel like you have something in your pocket. You know? Ever seen somebody, they're kind of like leaning out their car door. They're kind of like, I got a full stomach. I got a full tank of gas. It's a beautiful day. I got a full fridge. They feel like they got something. They got a chip in the game. And they're showing it. Like it's manifest in their whole behavior. Like they've got something, right? Life is a game and they're winning. Akinshana doesn't mean you're not winning the game. It means like, what game? What? This is nothing. This is useless. Have it or not have it. They're exhausted. Yeah. Thank you.
I also mentioned that I absolutely love it when you inject quotes from songs. Like that was Money was and Pink Floyd that was the first song I ever consciously remember my sister listening to in the room next door to me.
Wow.
So I love it when you inject those lyrics and stuff.
The hypocrisy of like, we say the root of the love of money is the root of all evil, and yet we've created a society that's like absolutely like a chicken with its head cut off, running so hard, led by people who are just like, they're not even ashamed to show it anymore. They're like manifestly in your face, totally open about their greed. You know, that's what's just dominating them. And we're like, this is supposed to make us happy? You know, yeah. Well, I'll try to keep finding quotes. It just came to me. I don't know. What can I say? My dad made me listen to Pink Floyd when I was a kid. Yeah. Hypocrisy of money grubbing.
Yeah, and that material exhaustion that is in that first line of the verse, right, is what can lead us to a place where we can understand, like, I need help. I'm exhausted by these opulences. I'm exhausted by material energy. I'm exhausted by Maya. I'm exhausted by, I feel like I'm always striving for the next thing to bring that, you said, like, exquisite joy and safety. Okay, I need help. And then what a gift that, you know, and it's in a simple, in one of its simplest forms, Mahamantra means I need help.
We need shelter. Yeah, the Mahamantra is supreme shelter. Krishna is supreme shelter. We're seeking shelter. Our fundamental natures, we can't give ourselves shelter, but like intrinsically on our own, independently. If we could, then all the rich people would be happy. Is that true? Everyone is running after money. Are they very happy? No, they're not very happy. Where's their shelter?
Right.
They may or may not have shelter. We're not saying if you're rich, you're automatically not going to have shelter.
No.
We're saying that deal with your shelter first, and then deal with your secondaries. Primary first, then your secondary. Opulence is always going to be there.
I also appreciated, it was pretty early on, you said knowledge means knowing what to do and strength means knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's what you said. And I was thinking about how we may, like, how having mentors, teachers, shiksha gurus, diksha gurus, you know, in our lives to help us acquire like higher knowledge and then also support us and guide us in having that strength and conviction to know what to do with it, or how to implement what you discover. And also to keep us in check, to keep me in check, to make sure it's not coming from ego or needing or wanting respect or being somehow in Maya, right? It's like this way to, because I think that it's really easy to be in that space.
It's very easy. it's very easy to fall back into that space, even for a sincere practitioner. This is why bhakti must be practiced under guidance. Not should, not can, must be practiced under guidance. If you really want to be advancing in bhakti, there's got to be guidance. So there has to be loving exchanges. There has to be relationships of love and trust. People have to get over their fear of authority, fear of not being good enough, fear of surrender, fear of a personal relationship. We want a personal relationship with Krishna. We're going to start practicing the devotees first. We really do,
Right.
because exactly what you're saying, you know, the books are not enough. I've not said that. Prabhupada has said that. He said many times in his books and also in lectures, like, it is not enough. Book learning is not enough. You must have personal relationship with people. They must actually show you, because then they can see you and they can say, like, oh, this is like where your blind spot is, right? If we didn't have blind spots, sure, books would be perfect. We could take it in, then we grow into the knowledge that's being provided for us, automatically have capacity to apply it in our life perfectly. What's the problem? That's not anybody. That was us. We would already be liberated.
Right.
We wouldn't need help. But we have blind spots, and therefore Sangha is so important, so valuable. And devotional guidance is also really valuable. The other point I wanted to talk about that I didn't really talk about in the class, I just remembered now. You know, Mahatma Prabhu talked about in the japa affirmation that I don't cause anxiety for any living entity, and therefore it supports our chanting.
Yeah.
You know, one thing we find is that when somebody becomes intoxicated with any other relationship besides a relationship with the Supreme, i.e., a relationship with some aspect of Krishna's energy, they become facilitated. Actually, there's a real slippery slope. They become facilitated to cause offenses to other living entities, right? Like, what does it mean when they say love of money is the root of all evils? Well, that's all evils. You know, it's like, oh, I want some of this, so I'll break your neck, directly or indirectly, right? Violence, viciousness, not wanting well for another person is the beginning of that, because there's a sense of fighting over limited resources, right? So this is actually like connected to even just all the problems of the world. Those are just spin-offs of not having a relationship first and foremost with the Supreme, because we don't have that relationship first and foremost with the Supreme, we build it with Krishna's opulence. Because I'm building it, and you're building it, and you're building it, and you're building it, we're all fighting over these opulences. There's a problem. There's going to be some, in Sanskrit, jiva hingsa, some enmity between jivas, right? And for advancing devotees, we want to like find the hypocrisy, find the anger, the viciousness, the greed, the selfishness, the little internal seeds of violence, and cultivate kindness and care. Devotees are very careful how they move in the world. Advanced devotees are very, very careful. Literally how they step, the words that come out of their mouth, they're very, very careful, because they know that every living entity is sentient. And the opposite is that the more conditioned we are, the more we're like, get out of my way. You know, we're just like vicious to each other. And so this whole thing of calling out sincerely is also connected to just like the ability to call out sincerely is supported by not being vicious, because your heart becomes softened enough. And it becomes damaged by being vicious. And not calling out sincerely creates more opportunity to become vicious. So this also has implications not just for our own, you know, internal, like psychological or spiritual evolution. It has definite implications for how we actually move in the world. Right?
Yeah.
So because it's now like obligatory for me to connect something in the class to Mahatma Prabhu's purport to japa, I felt I had to add that. Yeah. Any more reflections?
One thing that you said, it was one sentence. We are safe when we fully invest in a higher taste. I think that's like so if we're always being reminded by Krishna, and we're always thinking of Krishna, then that helps guide us on our decisions and how we look at the world or how we approach the world, because we don't want to disappoint him.
Yeah. What does Krishna want here? And what does Krishna want here?
Yeah.
You know? And that's where guidance helps, because it's like there is an answer to that. I mean, maybe we don't have like a crystal clear like solution to, he definitely wants exactly this thing every moment. We can't necessarily be that realized, but asking the question and having the association of persons who are more experienced than ourselves to try to answer it, that's what lets you create a day, a week, a month, a life where you're actually just always in service. Whether your service is raising kids or working a job or giving initiation to people and giving classes and going on pilgrimage, whatever you're doing, it's, you'll be guided. So it's a beautiful life.
It is a beautiful
Hare
life.
Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Was that-
Nancy, have anything?
I don't think Nancy has anything. Do you have anything you want to share, Nancy?
Very
It's like
nice.
she's good.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Now let's offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desire trees, can fulfill all the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. Anand Koti Vaishnava ki jai.